Will you tell me some of the important life lessons you've learned and how you learned them?
Some of the important life lessons I've learned. One is to keep a few close friends around because going through this life alone is not a good time. It's meant to be shared, the experiences, and it really enriches the whole thing. And to that level, too, once you find your significant other, another life lesson that I learned is happy wife, happy life. Um, and the way that I learned this is the way that everybody learns everything is living, making mistakes, and growing from it, you know. Um, yeah.
What people have influenced your life the most, and in what ways have they impacted you?
Hmm. The people who've influenced my life the most directly, I would say, when I was younger, definitely my older brothers. And their influence was great, from music to fashion to how to be cool, things of that nature. Um, you know, Showing me things I shouldn't see, horror movies and stuff when I was way too young to experience them. Also, my mother, um, you know, she raised three rambunctious boys by herself and worked her fingers to the bone, and she was a true inspiration and remains, you know, just this beacon of who I'd like to be, who I look towards when I think about, how I would like people to think of me. Um, and then outside of, direct influence, I would have to say that just like reading great authors, um, has really influenced me. Books.
When did you learn that you like books? Like, how did you?
In middle school, I really started to fall in love. I had a teacher, Randy Weishart, in maybe the sixth grade, and he introduced us to Kurt Vonnegut Jr. through short stories. Harrison Bergeron was the first one I ever read, and I was enamored. I never looked back. I fell in love from the fifth word on. And also, that same man, that same year, because I expressed to him, how much that meant to me. Um, and he introduced me to William Faulkner, another of my favorite authors, So I guess, in a way, I would say Randy Weishart was a direct influence on me through the books. Hmm.
What story, like, most impacted you from your? Like, is there any specific book or?
Well, like I said, Harrison Bergeron was my introduction to a lifelong love of great literature. But he turned me on to Faulkner, and he warned me. It was The Sound and the Fury, and he warned me that he was hesitant to, you know, introduce it to me because it was such a complicated book to read. The nuances are so subtle in the three different perspectives that Faulkner presents the story under. Particularly the first one, Benji. If you've ever read Sound and the Fury, can be very difficult for a reader, especially a young reader who, as I said, was just beginning to catch that fire in him, to understand. And so he said, I don't want you to read this and hate it because, it's something that you should love. I don't know if you should wait until you're more mature or whatever. And so I took that as a personal challenge, like, well, I'm good enough. So I went at it, and honestly, as I began to read it, it was too much. I skipped over it and went on, read the second part and the third part, and understood Benji's character more, and went back, and the moment it dawned on me, you know, why Faulkner had written it this way, and how gorgeous it was, the way in which he had written it, that set me off. You know, it was like I, from that moment on, was a fan of the language arts and a lover of literature, as I said, lifelong. So that spark, and all due thanks to Mr. Weishart and those two, Kurt Vonnegut Jr. and The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. Highly recommend it to everybody.
Is there anything that you regret having not done, and why don't you think that you've done it?
One regret that I have currently is not having traveled the world. And even like I haven't even traveled America sufficiently, you know, not to my satisfaction. The parts that I have seen, that we have seen together, are gorgeous. You know, I've loved it, but there's so much more. I've never been to New York City, and that's, you know, my bucket list, to see all these places, to experience, you know, the beauty of the world and all the cultures and sights and wonders of it, and I haven't. And I would say the main reason I haven't is probably financial. In my mind, I dismiss it, you know, before I even embark upon it, because it just seems too expensive, you know, trying to do the day-to-day household things. And there's always special events to do locally, you know, between the holidays, or you know, special screenings at the IMAX, you know, things that come up that just sort of outweigh, you know, train tickets to New York City, I guess. So that's my excuse for not living a full life.
If like 100 years from now, they find this file, or somebody goes on to this site and listens to this interview,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you would like to say, like your great-grandchildren, or anybody for that matter, really?
100 years from now,
Yeah.
I would like to say that I spent a lot of time actually thinking about you and what the world would be like when you arrived, and as you grew up in it, and the things that I want to see now, New York City and the Pacific Ocean. I wonder what these look like to you, and how the world has changed. And I just hope that we didn't mess it up too badly. And I hope that you guys are able to enjoy it as much as we did, if not more. And what is Mars like?
Thank you.
Oh, it was my pleasure.